Live from the Kings County Distillery Studios in New York City, it's the Hospitality Hangout Podcast with the restaurant guy and the finance guy. We've got our whiskey on the rocks ready. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and encourage you to share a pour with us at home.
Are we allowed to king me and add a little Pepsi to our Kings County? I guess
Why not,
do as you like. Let's do it. No judgment. You want to have the Kings County neat? You want to have it on the rocks? You want to splash of water? You want to mix it up with some Kings County?
Well, I love my Kings County. I love it on the rocks, Jimmy. But I know I got to tell you, I've been adding a little Diet Pepsi to mine because I'm watching my weight, and I got to tell you, I love it. Good for you. And again, when it comes to Kings County Pepsi, king me. If you know, you know. All right, listen, I want to kick us off and welcome you guys more formally, and thank you for joining us, the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of branded hospitality ventures share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy. And thank you for that kind and warm introduction, Jimmy. And to those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. And together, we are the personalities behind branded strategic hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, capital, and, of course, emerging brands. And, Jimmy, speaking of emerging brands, you know what? We've been in the restaurant business a long time, Jimmy. I mean, you started as a bartender. I started as a bartender. And I'll tell you, there's one thing right now that is plaguing operators in the biz. You know what it is, Jimbo?
Challenging ice, different shapes of ice cubes.
Ice was number 3. Ice is number 3. Number 1 on the board is labor. Jimmy, labor is still, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But Jimmy, what if I told you, there is a report out there right now that showed you what all restaurants are paying their workers, so you have an understanding of all wages across all segments of the hospitality industry. What would you say about that?
I'd say that sounds like it's very expensive.
Expensive and really cool, right?
And really cool, yes.
well, our work, there's the Our Work QSR wage report, okay? Jimmy, it's free to answer your question. It's free. It features data. It features data and insights, or data or data. I don't remember which one we're going with. 100,000 quick service jobs in over 900 zip codes, Jimmy, including the Upper East Side. 10021. Is that you?
That is me. By the way, Chatsy, I'm very impressed. Usually your use of numbers is incredibly flawed, challenged, exaggerated, but you're correct on this one. This one you nailed.
We have a really good guest on today, and I don't want to exaggerate because he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. But our work, our work is really easy to use software, Jimmy, okay? And it can double your applicant flow and increase retention. This is key. By over 30%, Jimmy, 30% retention. 8,000 restaurants right now, Jimmy, are using our work. Do you know who's using our work? I'll give you one.
I think you're going to tell me.
McDougal's.
I love McDougal's.
McDonald's.
Even more than McDougal's.
Domino's Pizza.
I've heard of them.
Well, listen, Jimmy, all I know is if you go to QSRwages.com, you will get this free report. Oh, and by the way, mention podcast, the code podcast, okay? Not only is it free, it's even more free.
They'll pay you.
They'll pay you to read it. But all seriousness, our work is recruiting and employee retainment and retention platform for restaurant operators. McDonald's uses it. If it's good enough for McDougal's, it's good enough for McDonald's. Jimmy, it's probably good enough for your restaurant. So I implore all operators, go check out ourwork.com. Jimmy, Chico said they wouldn't sponsor us anymore. So you know what? We got Our Work. Jimmy, we got a great show. Let's go, baby.
I love it, man. But you had me. I'm a man of a certain age, so you had me at increased flow.
I had flow.
You had me at flow. All right, listen. We want to thank our friends at Our Work, sincerely doing great things for the industry, and we love being part of your community. All right, we are very excited for today's episode. Joining us today is our friend and a second-time guest, Mr. Gregg Majewski, CEO of Craveworthy Brands. I have to tell you, I love names. Shats, you know we love names. Craveworthy is a perfect name for this company.
I love it. And it's, it's a relatively new, if we remember last time we had Gregg on, he was telling us about the whole rebranding, and I love it. I think it's just great because I think the old name was Mongolian steakhouse or something. And I didn't like that as much. Craveworthy is much better.
I love Craveworthy. I think the word Craveworthy,
to his face. I like Craveworthy. I didn't like the Mongolian steakhouse name.
All right. Well, you know what we're going to talk about. I missed the first time Gregg was on the show, so this is a little bit of we had to get Gregg back because I was like, I was feeling left out. I wanted to feel the love that I saw in the episode where Gregg and you did it. So here we are. But listen, before we bring Gregg into the episode,
he's gonna kill me. He's a big guy, by the way. He's gonna kill me.
He's like, why did I agree to do this a second time? But before we jump in, we have to kick off Trivia Tuesday. Our podcast released on Tuesday. I'm not going to say the words Taco Tuesday because there's a whole lot of lawsuits and a whole lot of banter going on. And I
think you'd have to give, some sort of recognition. You'd have to talk to Taco John before you say Taco Tuesday.
I ain't messing with Taco John. The guy was smart enough to trademark Taco Tuesday. Respect Taco John. But listen, we've got our Trivia Tuesday. You all know how the game works. Shatsy's pretty darn good at this game, got to tell you. I'm going to share.
I'm good at Jimmy.
I'm going to share 3 facts. I'm not sure it's actually 3 facts, but I'm going to say that there are 3 facts about our friend Gregg. 2 are true, and 1 is less than true, or not true, or a lie. A lie. It might be a lie, but 3 facts about our friend Gregg. 2 are true, 1 is false. Here we go. Fact 1. Gregg once hid in a dumpster, dodging from the police. I like that one. I hope that one's true because that'd be a good story.
I can see him. I don't know Gregg that well, but I know him well enough to think that he could do that.
All right, fact 2. Gregg flunked out of college.
He's too freaking smart, and the's no possible way.
Yeah, I'm challenged the word
He's got 500 restaurants with like 87 brands.
The word flunk, I mean, could he have left college? Yeah, flunked out. We'll talk about it. And then fact 3, Gregg once ate a goldfish.
I could see at college before he flunked out in a fraternity doing that.
Could that be the reason he flunked out? By the way, isn't a goldfish?
Wasn't flunked. I mean, he was thrown out.
Isn't that really just like really rare sushi? Like, are we really? I mean, the goldfish. How tough? Put some rice and soy sauce wasabi. How tough is that nowadays? All right. Anyway, as I said,
I agree. It's just sushi. It's really not a big deal.
All right. As I said, 3 facts. 2 are true. 1's false. Gregg once hid in the dumpster dodging from the police. Gregg flunked out of college. Gregg once ate a goldfish. Stick around to the end of the episode to find out. All right, I can't wait. All right, stick around to the end if you want to hear the real story. All right, with no further ado, Gregg, we're going to let you jump in finally, take the lead, give us a background on yourself, and of course, please reintroduce or talk to our audience about Craveworthy Brands, my friend.
So, well, first, thanks for having me for a second time. That's an honor.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Even though I will say being on the B list twice was like, you never want to be on the B list. You know, I'm an A player.
Oh, you're an A player.
It's true. The B list is ahead of the A list, baby.
Yes, I got to tell you, when it comes to Brandon's B list, the A list wishes they were on the B list, baby. I get called some Stallone. So I was like, why can't I be on the B list? And I'm like, you're barely on the B list as an actor. How can you make it to the B list or B list? But I digress.
But again, thanks for having me. It's, you guys are friends. So anything, anytime, that. So a little bit about me, where I started. Started with a company called Jimmy John's, as we went through in the past. Grew that company from 30 restaurants to 300 open and 700 sold by the time I left. Did consulting and other work for other major restaurant brands for numerous of years. Built my own Jimmy John's sort of group, and finally decided about 5 years ago that I was going to get back into it after some of my old employees sat me down and said that you're not doing what you should be doing because your job was to create talent and help these people get opportunities that they never had. And so they gave me a coaching tree. And of all of my managers and all the people that I ever helped or worked with and all that, and all the great companies that they were at, and they said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And he goes, you don't need to continue to do, you don't need the money, but this is what you're passionate about, help grow and build this talent. And I sat there for a minute and I looked at my wife and sort of had the conversation. I'm like, it's time for me to do this again. So I then started looking for opportunities to start building a platform company. So the first purchase was Mongolian Concepts, which was Flat Top Grill, BD's Mongolian, and Genghis Grill, and took a small equity piece with an option to buy the rest. these three store companies had been in the complete dumpster, to use a better word, and had not sold the restaurant, had not had positive comps, had not seen transactions increase since 2011. Beatty's and Flat Top have been through multiple bankruptcies, and Genghis Grill acquired them in 2017. And I'm like, hey, this is a perfect opportunity. I like the idea of the customization of the bowls. I like the fact that that's the hot component right now, and that we can fix this. As of last year, so 18 months in, we announced that we sold 24 franchises for the first time since 2011. Hadn't sold a store since that point. Hadn't had positive comps since 2015. Haven't had seen a positive sales increase or transaction count since 2011 either. And all three brands are positive in all of those. And we do it by what we always do: create perfect food, crave-worthy food, in a fast, system-wise presence in your restaurant. So systems and procedures have to be key, and building a culture where your people believe in what you're doing, so they'll do whatever you're asking. And at that point, I started acquiring other brands on the down low because I didn't want people to know what I was doing. And in January, we announced the formation of Craveworthy with the emerging brands that I acquired over the past couple of years. Those were Budlong, Crafted, Wing It On, and Lucky Cat Poke Company made Craveworthy. And then in April, we announced that I exercised the option to acquire the rest of Mongolian Concepts.
All right, Gregg, listen, I got to cut you off because you're going to kill the entire podcast because we're going to have nothing to talk about because you just told us everything about you. We've got questions here. We've got things we want to know.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the
I'm done.
There's nothing else to say. This is great. We'll see you. We'll see you a little.
I was told 5 minutes.
No, yeah, but before we got a lot to get into because you're doing a lot of crazy things. But before we go forward and talk about where you are now and where you're going, because God knows you're going places, we have to take a step back. And first, I like to dig into. I want to know who Gregg is. Our guests want to know who Gregg is.
Here it comes, Gregg. Here it comes.
I mean, no, because you were Jimmy John's. You were CEO, CFO, COO. You took it from 3 stores to 700 stores.
There, that goes with the math. There's the math.
1,000 franchises you sold. Something.
Math.
You were like the franchise seller of the year. You were honored by IFA and all the other different places. You were, but in 1990, take us back to 1990. You were in high school. You were young. You didn't know what to do. What do you want to do with your life? How did you go from Jimmy John's to now creating Craveworthy with hundreds of brands and growing like crazy? Where did it all start? Were you passionate about hospitality? Talk to us.
Greg, this is Shatsy's Fraser Crane moment. Shatsy's listening.
$150 an hour, and I take all insurances, Greg.
So I grew up in an entrepreneur family, and my dad was not home when I was growing up, and he would always come in and leave early and come in late. And then at a point in our life,
what kind of business was your pop in?
So he owns a manufacturing company. So it does parts for Caterpillar, GM. So basically an OEM for major auto companies and stuff like that. So as he was building his company and I was little, he wasn't home. And so I remember him, coming home, eating dinner with us, and then going back to work because he at least wanted to have dinner with the family. And I remember how hard he worked. And my uncle, who lived next door to us, was the same way. He was always working and always talked about how important it was to take care of your family. And seeing him do that over the years is what sort of built my culture of hard work and wanting to lead by example. My dad would always take the hardest job and would always go in, and if a machine was down or if he needed to get a part down, he'd run the machine. And for hours and hours. And I remember seeing him do it while I was in high school. And that sort of led me to know that if you wanted to be successful, you had to do the shitty jobs. You had to do the jobs that no one else wanted to do. And you actually had to do what you asked other people to do. And that's where my work ethic and my culture started.
Jimmy, that was podcast gold, by the way.
Gold, Jerry, gold. It was. Actually, I dig it.
You know another guy who always had the shittiest jobs in the restaurant? This guy. Dishwasher was in there. Shatsy was a dishwasher. Fry guy didn't show up. Shatsy was the fry guy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that when you have the roles, Gregg, that you have and have had, as Shatsy you as well, there is no one thing you do. And typically it's when something's not going well or isn't working or someone doesn't show up. Hello, Laverne. Hello, Cheryl. Roll up your sleeves.
Those sleeves.
Let's go. I completely get it. Gregg, as I mentioned at the top of the show, this is your second appearance. We were lucky to have you on our on the road edition of the Hospitality Hangout when you were a guest at the Restaurant Franchising and Innovation Summit this past March. I unfortunately missed that show for I think I was on injured reserve with a surgery issue recovering from.
I think Sylvia had a talent show. She has a talent show once a week.
She does a lot of talent shows, and I will miss any conference to make sure I see that.
60-year-olds have talent shows. You notice that?
A lot of talent shows. Those 90-second moments. Yeah, as Gregg said, his dad was home for dinner. I'm not missing talent shows, but I missed that show. So my FOMO, as I said, was one of the reasons I wanted to have you back. But kidding aside, you talked a little bit about Craveworthy and introduced what you're doing. And as you were describing it, I was thinking about Al Pacino and The Godfather 3, which, by the way, compared to 1 and 2, yeah, it's not a great movie. Godfather 3.
You like that movie. You always give that movie. It's almost like you invested in that movie or something because you're always like, it's not bad.
I think it's a good movie. I just think when it gets compared to 1 and 2, it fails. But in Godfather 3, Pacino famously said, he thought he was out, they brought him back in. And I think what I heard you describing is your team, your the people you mentored, the people you created these opportunities for. They said, let's get you come back to where your heart and your head. And now we're just finished. We just started we're in the second half of 23. So I guess my macro question is, with the first 6 months behind us, how is the year going for Craveworthy? I think there's a lot of momentum that you've created, and that's with grit and hard work and good people. But how's the year going for Craveworthy halfway through 23?
So, I mean, to say that we started, the formation was January, to be where we are now is unheard of. I mean,
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Say it. It's ridiculous.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. It's pretty damn awesome. I mean, we have 7 announced brands under the portfolio. We have 4 brands that we haven't announced yet that we'll be announcing slowly. So we'll be at 11 brands before the end of summer.
We'll pull that out of them today on the podcast. You'll see.
Oh, it's come. We got it. I can see it. Gregg's gonna break. He's gonna give us. We're gonna break some news, baby.
Oh yeah.
So, and we're building a team that rivals everything in the industry. So, and that's the most exciting part. What I believe in is that if you want to do great things in any industry, you have to have a great team. And so the first 6-7 months or the first 3 years that I've been sort of building this behind the scenes, we've been all about building the team. And in the last couple of weeks, we've had 2 incredible new hires, and we have another incredible advisory member that's coming on board.
Who's that?
So can say, and I will say this one, you guys will get this first, is that Gregg Creed has agreed to take an advisory seat, an advisory board member with Craveworthy. His first advisory spot.
Mm-hmm. That's breaking news.
That's breaking news. Go for it, Chatsy.
That's breaking news right there.
Just, thanks to your pulling out that information from Mr. Majewski here, you got breaking news, Chats.
I should be in like 60 Minutes or something, like an investigative reporter. I mean, honestly, I get stuff out of people. It's amazing.
Well, that's great. Congratulations, Mr. Creed, joining your advisory board. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, knowing that people like that see what we're doing and that we're doing it right is exciting for us. And his whole philosophy is the same as mine. It's building culture, building teams, and leading by example and really doing it the right way. And he saw that that's what we do and wanted to be a part of it. And then we Jeremy, from the old chief development officer from Fat Brands, took a job 2 weeks ago. He's now my partner. And
I've had dinner with him a few times with you guys.
Yep.
Great hire.
And also Fat Brands. I mean, you're getting, like you said, you're getting top talents. You are definitely positioning yourselves to, I mean, if the first half of 23 is any indication, I mean, I don't know what you guys are going to do in 24. But let me ask you something. Right now, in my opinion, I think the hottest segment of the restaurant space right now, in my opinion, is emerging brands. I think I think the taste profile of the consumer has changed so much that now I think there's such an opportunity for all different types of foods today, more so than ever before. I mean, it was very, very basic. It was pizza and burgers for the most part. And today it's like so many different types of food. So I think emerging brands have really been able to capitalize on the different wants and needs of the consumer. You guys launched 2 brands, Crafted Burger Bar and Tap, and you got Lucky Cat Poke Company. You acquired Wing It On, and the bud long. What's the strategy for adding brands as you grow Craveworthy? How do you find concepts to fill white space? Do you create your own concepts? Are you just looking for other brands with 2 or 3 units? Like, talk to me about that, because you've added, like, you have 7 brands now, right?
Yep, 7 announced.
Oh, 4 in the hopper. So get, like, who are the 4?
Not going to tell you. Good try. You got your one breaking. And also know that everything I'm giving I'm very good. I'm only giving you what I want to give.
That's true. Yeah.
Jesse, Jimmy.
Jesse, Gregg might have, but not. Gregg taught you everything that he wants you to know, but he didn't taught you everything he knows.
But so you have 4 more coming, and that'll be announced, and you'll probably come on the podcast to announce it because that's what you like to do. But seriously, so, like, how do you come up with the ideas, or are you just looking for interesting brands, and what's the strategy?
So I believe, and it was something that we believed at Jimmy John's, and it goes back to that point. If there's a giant in the industry, there's always room to have a number 2. And if you can be number 2 in any segment, you can be pretty damn successful. So
I would agree with that.
The brands that I look at and the brands that I want is I want to have white space or somebody that has already taught the consumer what this food is. So I don't have to be the education component of it. But there's a runway then to sort of either outpace them or be that number 2 and let them do all the hard work on building what that food profile is and us just doing it better. So I'll knock Subway. Subway was not good and Jimmy John's was badass. So we were able to take a component and be a better sandwich for them and then add delivery and destroy them. They could never hit our AUVs. We're doing the same thing now with the brands that we look at. If there's somebody out there that's ahead of us, that's great. Let them be the leader. Let them get the press for a little bit. Let them have the fun. They're just setting us up so our better product and our better service and our better operations can come up behind and make more and have the higher AUVs and everything else because our product's better and Craveworthy. And so those are the areas that we're looking for. And then we're looking for segments that are under service. So the only out of my group that I can say I am the leader in is Genghis. There's no competitor in that segment for us. We're the leader. It's a completely different position. In that one, we have to be completely brash. We have to go out there and sort of educate everybody and teach everybody what we are. And we have to be a lot more cocky with it. In the emerging brand.
Did you find, as you talk about your strategy, did you find that with Genghis, that because your strategy now is you're saying, I don't want to be the leader, but with Genghis you are, do you find that that's harder to do and now I don't want to do that anymore? I'd rather kind of be number 2 and nothing's easy, but it's an easier place to be number 2 than be the leader, and that's more challenging. Is that kind of part of your strategy? Or
I mean, the difference with Genghis was nobody was doing it. So Chipotle started customization, but no one did cook to order of that nature and stuff like that. So if we can find a brand that has that potential, of course we want to be that. But most of the things, restaurant industry is not new. So there's always somebody doing something.
I think Moses opened the first restaurant.
Probably.
I just like the 15 commandments. I mean, these 10 commandments.
Yeah. Exactly. No, that's really, it's very, very cool, very interesting stuff.
And then ethnic food is, of course, going to be the next great thing. So there's a lot of emerging ethnic foods out there. So one of the brands that we'll be bringing in is Indian. And, it's
getting
a brand
closer, Jimmy.
It's a brand that I helped create a couple years ago. So it's been in my wheelhouse that just never announced that it was one of my concepts.
Indian food, by the way, it's funny you mentioned that. We were talking to a friend who's a leader in the franchise space, and we were talking about Indian food. And I think I just read an article and posted an article. I don't know, it was in Forbes or Entrepreneur. Indian food is super hot, and it is usually just in kind of a few big cities where there was a large Indian population. But again, it's now becoming mainstream. And Jimmy and I are here in New York City. I mean, there are fast casual Indian restaurants all over now, and there used to be just a little Indian neighborhood, so to speak. And now you go to other cities, and they're all over. So people are digging Indian food everywhere now.
Without a doubt. And if you can make it Americanized enough where you don't alienate the majority of the population that comes in to eat, you can have something special.
That's the person who goes to eat in a restaurant that doesn't like Indian food. They want a cheeseburger.
Correct. So the brands that we look at have to be able to cross all segments. So Kati rolls are a great example. So all that is a taco. I mean, it really is. That's what it is. And so if you can find a way and figure out a way to make that popular, which there's a great company in New York that obviously does that, but they've never been able to get out of it because they still went too far. So the concept that we're acquiring, or the concept that I developed years ago, is those type of things, but with enough American in it that it doesn't overpower you. So leveling down some of the spices that people get so put off by, and then slowly adding them back in once you train the customer base.
Yeah, Jimmy spent some time in Korea, and so did I. And that kimchi can be that can be brutal on the American palate.
Yeah, but it's so good.
It is so good. I was going to say I was in Tokyo, Japan, and I asked for a Philly roll, and they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I was like, smoked salmon, cream cheese. You don't have a Philly roll? I go to Hong Kong. I asked for beef and broccoli. They're like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? General Chow's chicken. Anyway, you're right. The Americanization of these foods is an important factor. I actually really like what you were sharing, Gregg. And Shats, while you were talking earlier, I got a text from Andrew Smith, who feels that you've shunned. He's working on some cult-like stuff as well, so be careful. Andrew's a big man. Don't piss off the big guy. He thought you were. You said no one's doing things like Crave. Andrew's working hard too. Let's give a shout out to our friends over at Savory. Listen, our listeners know that I'm the finance guy here, but I actually entered the workforce through hospitality, from busboy, barback, waiter, and bartender. That was really the starting point of my career. I took a break from the industry, but it was certainly foreshadowing where I am today. I strongly believe this industry builds character. There's grit, there's teamwork, and that these skills really are transferable to others, and really to any industry, and it really leads to great career paths. I love that the platform you're building, and you talked about the importance of human capital. You talked about the muscle, the power that you're bringing. You really want to create opportunities for new talent entering the workforce. But you also focus, on the mission to partner with incredible franchise partners and to help them achieve an American dream. So can you share a little bit more about how you look at the franchise partner in addition to the talent you're developing and trying to lift up?
So I look at it basically the same way. They're my partner. So when you sell a franchise to somebody, they're your customer. And it's your job as a franchisor to go above and beyond to make them successful. And so that is having the best training programs, having the best systems, having your staff actually in their restaurants. Most of the time, franchisors will send somebody in once or twice a year and come in and say, here's your score. Boom, boom, boom. This is what we're doing. And, out the door. I believe in having an actual coach and being in there, and we're their partner. So let's go through your financial statements. Let's go through your cost of goods. Let's go through your labor matrices. How can we improve you? And then when we make a decision, we have to know how it affects our franchisor, not just our franchisees, not just me. So I can make any decision. I can sign a great contract and, yeah, I did great. But if it doesn't have the effect of increasing the bottom line of my franchisees, it's a bad deal. And if my franchisees don't make money, they're not going to sign up for store 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or tell their friends down the street, oh my God, these guys are awesome.
Your best advertisers are your current franchise operators. If they're making money and rave about you as an operator, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'll take a territory and I'll sign on.
Correct. And so our whole mantra and what we did at Jimmy John's was make our franchisees win. So we did stupid things. Hey, if you could increase your sales $100,000, your royalty on that $100,000 next year was free. I mean, so just to try to get them excited and built into the culture. And why not do that? Because if you're building a brand, you want them working so hard for you because it's your brand and they're now your partner. So you want them to be successful. Why not give them certain things to help them be that? And we grew AUVs continually because our franchisees were hungry.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love it. Let's change gears real quick. Look, at Branded, we do a lot of investing in the technology space in hospitality. So let's just talk a little about technology, tech stack. You're taking 7 brands, you're adding 4 more. We know it's an Indian concept. We don't know the other ones. We have our ideas. We'll go down a list and we'll try and grab it out of you. But you'll have 11 brands. a lot of times when you acquire different brands, they have different point of sale systems. They have different loyalty. They have different tech stack. What are you doing? Are you trying to unify and say, look, we're all going to try and have the same tech stack, or is it no? This brand, this works best for this brand. Like, talk to me about how you're going to build your tech stack and how you're thinking about that as you continue to grow and acquire brands.
So we know that we have a platform of what we have to have. So, for example, every brand that we acquire goes to Restaurant 365. That is our data platform. It is our back of the house. It is that. So everyone goes to that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. POS will slowly integrate to. We can work with any of them. We prefer Toast. And then it's what do they have, and then slowly get them to the best components that work for that brand. Now, we believe that the best tech companies are still going to be the best tech companies. So, for example, we are Punch right now on the loyalty side, and we have Ovation on the customer side. We have Incentivio, one of ours uses for loyalty right now. And they're all great companies. And so as we use them and as we grow, we'll work with what's there, but they have to be able to have the same use factor. So we know what we want, but if the other ones have a contract and all that, we'll learn that system because everyone has great vendors and they're all great systems. But eventually everyone will flow into one system because it's easy to train.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I just remember back in the day in our restaurants, we recently, right during the pandemic, we switched all of our restaurants. At the time it was 19, all to a single point of sale platform. But we had up until that point like 6 different ones. And some of it was, you got a lease at a restaurant. You got a lease, and it was an existing restaurant. And they closed, and they left the point of sale there. And you're like, oh, look, there's an old Posy Touch. I'll use it. It's fine. I just saved $50,000, And then, like you said, then you're training. And Jimmy's a bartender at one store. You're like, hey, Jimmy, I need you over at a different restaurant. And then he goes there, and it's like a different point of sale. He's like, I don't know what to do here, So yeah, it is easier on the training for sure.
And it allows you to cross-utilize your above store. So the whole thing about Craveworthy is that our platform, our above store personnel are cross-brand trained on all brands. So I have to have the simplicity of the systems in place so they can do their jobs effectively.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
That was awesome, and love the shout outs to some of our friends in the industry and 2 of our portcos, both Incentivio and Ovation.
I paid Gregg to say that, by the way.
I'm a little biased on Ovation too because I did the investment with them as well.
That's right. Disclaimer.
Last round, we just saw
disclaimer.
the big.
Yes, 100% of the people on this podcast are invested in with Mr. Zach Oates and Ovation. There's our disclaimer. But we do love that company and the importance of guest feedback. So that's awesome. Listen, I recently heard you say you have a goal of reaching, and I'm going to use my pinky, 1 billion in sales in 5 years. That's right. Gregg's goal with Craveworthy is to reach $1 billion in sales in 5 years. And let me also state that you have a standing invitation, Gregg, that as soon as that number is hit, you can come on back, and we're gonna raise a glass of Kings County to you after you reach that goal. And I have no doubt you're gonna hit that number, surpass it, and I'll take the under. I'm not under $1 billion. I'm gonna take the under 5 years. Put a little pressure on you. But my question is,
I'll bet you Gregg is at $1 billion in sales before the end of 23. Jimmy, I said it.
I'm going to take the over your bet, but I'm going to take the under 5. Yes. But I'll take the under 5, the over Shatsy's bet.
Come on, Gregg.
In 6 months.
Man, how could you not? You're betting against yourself.
Yes. That one, yes.
No, he's an optimist, but he's a realistic one. All right, but what will you lean on most to achieve this goal? And is it going to be the people you team up with? Is it going to be the tech stack? Is it going to be the customers? Is it going to be, I expect maybe some combination of all the above, but when you're standing up to accept the award that we're going to present to you at the branded honors, Shatsy, there's a new idea for us, the branded honors, the movers and shakers, who are you thanking in your acceptance speech besides Shatsy?
I mean, you're going to be, again, for us to do what we want to do, it's going to be our franchisees. And our franchisees are what's going to get us to that point. And the way we do that is by best in class. And so by finding the best in class and the franchisees that are hungry to grow, those are the people that are going to get us to that point. And they're going to be pushing hard because I want to take people that have never had the opportunity before. Same thing we've done everywhere else. So as great as the big multi-unit guys are, the best operators for emerging brands are the ones that get in at the beginning and start growing fast because they want to build their entrepreneurial spirit. And those are going to be the ones that get us to that point. And it will happen. And again, we set the $1 billion goal in 5 years as a lofty expectation. But if you don't dream big, you never achieve big. And so that's sort of been our marching orders from the beginning in my life, is that you always have to have bigger dreams than what anyone can ever think you can do. Because if you dream on things you can actually achieve easily, there's no point in dreaming.
I like it. Shoot for
I'm
the
writing
stars,
that down,
and
Jimmy, and I might use that line, and I might footnote Gregg on that.
Yeah, you might butcher it. You shoot for stars, you can get treetops, or somewhere in between. I like it. Listen, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Shatsy and I, we started this podcast. We enjoy having industry leaders come on the show, and we like chatting a little bit, as you know, and I like writing long emails, as you guys regrettably know. But we also learned along the way that sometimes our guest has a question for us. So let's kick off talking back. Gregg, we're going to let you take the microphone and ask us a question or two. As I like to say, nothing is off the table. And Gregg, the microphone, my friend, is yours.
So let's start with Shatsy. So how are you in a studio, but you look like you're in your home?
Yes. Thank you, Gregg, for bringing that up. I think we might have to do some Hollywood magic there and change the backdrop. I didn't know how to change the background here, but yes, I am out at our Long Island offices right now. So technically, this is an office, and it is, I'd like to call this our Long Island studios. So, good question.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. But the bigger one is, so you're still in the restaurant business. Why? What attracts you to this business that actually wants to keep you going day in and day out? Because the people that do it, we're all nuts. We know this. So what's your thing that makes you nuts about it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love the hospitality business. I love the restaurant business. Our office on Park South is on the 4th floor. We moved from the 8th floor. We're on the 4th floor. We've got 3 of our restaurants downstairs, and I got to tell you, it is every day. Jimmy and I spend time in the restaurants, whether it's having lunch, whether it's just grabbing a cocktail, whether it's meeting with the managers or chefs, whatever. But I just love it. I love the energy. I love the people. I love the camaraderie. I love everything about it. So the idea that we've created at Branded was taking everything we love about the restaurant business, continuing to build on the restaurant business and what we love about it, but then adding other components to it, like the technology sector and the innovation, the robotics, the automation, all these things that are coming down the pipeline. It's an industry that has always been very slow to embrace tech. And we've been fortunate because we've been around a long time. We've seen a lot, and I just love that intersection. So I just think that we were in the early innings of this. Like you said earlier, restaurants have been around a long, long time. Technology innovation within the restaurant space, that hasn't been around a long time. So I just love doing what I've always been passionate about, which was food and beverage, creating menus, seeing people happy, enjoying it, and now bringing in this tech and innovation to help operators not just survive but thrive. I like to call this, it's the next stage of the restaurant hospitality industry now. So I love it, and I'd have it no other way. So I am nuts, and like you said, to be in the restaurant business, you got to be a little bit nuts. And I love it, and we don't plan on changing anytime soon. We've got 3 new restaurants in the hopper right now.
So with the tech stack follow-up, do you think restaurants adapt too fast right now to every new shiny thing that's being presented to them?
No, I think it's a mixed bag. I think there's folks like myself who will try anything, because I don't know if it's good or works or doesn't if you don't try it. Or at least if I find something really interesting, I would call you and say, Gregg, what do you think? And then maybe you'd try it or see if it's a good fit. But you have to test things and try things or you don't know. But I think there's a whole segment of the industry that is a follower. They're going to be like, look, Gregg, you test it out, you see how it goes, and when it's great and terrific and it's super duper and they got all the kinks worked out, let me know, because I don't have any time to do that right now. And then there's the big enterprise folks that are just like, they're not gonna pilot or beta test some new technology because it's too risky for them. So I don't think so. I think there's a segment of the testers and the triers, and then there's a bigger segment of the followers, and I think it's cool. I like it.
And I agree. And I'm a follower on some things too. I mean, you have to be. So what Wildbow's doing with NFTs, I'm sitting back and watching. Jeff is pushing that, as we all know, to a point that I think maybe too far, but I'm cheering him on because if it works, then I'm going to get on that and follow him to that one.
I agree. I agree with you. I love what he's doing on NFTs. For me, I don't have a need for it right now, but it's interesting to watch, and I love what Jeff's doing over there. I agree.
All right. So now Jimmy's turn.
Sorry. Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead. I was going to comment on Chatsies, but I'll stay in listen mode, my friend.
So you're like me. You're a finance number guy that gets into the accounting industry or gets into the restaurant industry. We both grew up in it. We both worked through it in college. Mm-hmm. What attracts you? What makes a number person a good restaurant guy?
Fantastic question. One of the things that I love about my role and about this industry that I think is truly unique, I'll refer to it as high touch, but more specifically, I can't think of many other industries where the manufacturing side of the industry and the retail side of the industry are separated by maybe a wall and sometimes not even a wall. And your customer is our guest is experiencing this industry in real time, high touch. And if something comes out of the manufacturing facility, which essentially is the kitchen, we have to address it and deal with it live in real time. And we're in the store with them. As a numbers person, I find that this is the most unique asset class I've ever seen, because those are things that you could model out, you could project, you could do scenario analysis. We could invest in as a restaurant. We can invest in any number of things. We could bring in all the right talent. But if something goes wrong, the check is slow to return. If there was that mistake at the very end, if maybe the server, in a full serve restaurant, which we own, was having a bad day, or he or she broke up with their significant other, the entire experience could be impacted by any small factoid. And I find that to be incredibly interesting from somebody who's looking at financials and looking at numbers and realizing there's these extraneous factors that could impact the very experience the guest is having. And I think there's no other industry that's like it. And while that sounds like I'm exposing a challenge to what I do in this industry and the industry itself, or the way I look at it, I find that dichotomy to be incredibly fascinating. Of as much as you want to predict and project and think you have an exact science, I think the expression is, man makes plans and God laughs. I could do all the assessment I want. The reality is going to be what happens on that floor. And again, to the listeners, I ask you, think of an industry with a manufacturing facility and that retail, that what's coming out of the kitchen in real time you are experiencing, and the people around you who made it, who are serving you, who are running the show, they're all there in the kitchen, they're all there in the restaurant together. I think that's incredibly unique, unlike any industry I've ever seen.
I love it, and those were some incredible questions. But Jimmy, I got to tell you, I'm just getting our producers on the line saying it's time for the food service feud. That's right. We got to get into the feud. And by the way, we are about to do the food service feud celebrity edition. It's no secret that many celebrities got their start in hospitality. Jimmy, you were an example of a celebrity who started in hospitality, and now look at you. At some point in time, some manager, a GM, even Gregg himself, he saw something special in these celebrities before they were famous. And they hired them over somebody else. And are you guys ready for a little food service feud celebrity edition?
Let's play the feud.
Do it.
Don't sound so excited, guys. Listen, we go on LinkedIn every week. We have a poll question. And we ask over 100 million people on LinkedIn this question.
100 people.
The top answers are on the board. Are you ready? Get your imaginary buzzer. Which celebrity got their start working in food service in Chicago before starting a career in acting? Go.
You're not going to give us hints? You're not going to give us choices?
I got to get. Is it? Sorry, I forgot. Is it Oprah Winfrey, Bill Murray, Vince Vaughn, or Tina Fey? Now go.
Gonna have to guess Bill Murray.
Bill Murray is incorrect. Jimmy, you can steal and win something big.
So my favorite one on that list, I have to say, is Vince Vaughn, but I'm going Oprah.
And I got to tell you, Jimbo, you always go with your instincts, your first instincts. It was Mr. Vince Vaughn. He worked at the iconic Gibson Steakhouse. And just a little FYI, just imagine if Vince Vaughn had used Our Work. If he used OurWork.com, he may have never gone to be a wedding crasher, Jimbo. He may still be at Gibson's right now. So I just want to do
a swinger.
OurWork.com. Jimbo, let's get on to Tuesday trivia.
All right. Everyone remember at the top of the show, I gave you 3 facts about our friend Gregg. 2 were true, 1 was false. Here we are again. Fact 1, Gregg once hid in the dumpster hiding from the police. Fact 2, Gregg flunked out of college. Fact 3, Gregg once ate a goldfish. Shatsy, go for it, man. Come on, you got a record.
I don't think these are that difficult, okay? Gregg ate a goldfish. Yeah, that's not even that big of a deal. Like you said, it's like eating a piece of sushi. I mean, big deal. He ate a goldfish. And yeah.
Hold on, Shatsy. Have you eaten a goldfish, Shatsy?
No,
live. Live goldfish.
Live goldfish. By the way, I haven't eaten a goldfish. You ate a goldfish? No. So neither of us ate goldfish.
And Gregg's excited, so we know that he did that. He ate a live goldfish.
Okay.
He didn't flunk out of college. And yes, he hid in a dumpster, hiding from the police. Probably, I don't know, like he was in the back, like smoking a joint or something. And
easy. All right.
He's not a public company yet, right?
All right. Easy. All right. So you're going with he hid in the dumpster, and you're going he once ate a goldfish, and you're saying Gregg did not flunk out of college. All right, Gregg, tell us what you got.
So I did hide in the dumpster for over 4 hours. Because
I want to know why.
Huh?
Don't even want to know why.
Fake ID.
I want to know why.
Fake ID, and I accidentally hit the guy and bolted.
He accidentally.
I love the accidentally. I accidentally threw a fist, and somehow the guy's jaw accidentally got in front of my fist. But I respect 4 hours in a dumpster. I like that.
His jaw doing?
Right. And by the way, the statute of limitations on that offense have
long gone.
Expired. Long gone, baby. Long gone. Mr. Joe Smith or Jane Doe, whoever Gregg hit, I'm not sure he apologizes. But you know what? He ain't gonna pay for it now. All right, what's the second one?
So, second one was I did not flunk out of college. I came close and was flunking out, and I had to go and have the board meeting with the president, and basically had to tell them, hey, I made a mistake. I didn't read the syllabus. I didn't know that attendance was a grade point after so many things. But don't blame me. I got all A's on the test. And so I could get A's, never go to class. Why are you going to throw me out? Give me a second chance. So after my freshman year, I had a 0.6 GPA. So as bad as it could be, but I did get to stay in.
Yes. I knew the word flunk. I saw the word flunk. Yeah. And the goldfish?
Oh, God, yes. Through the beer bong.
Still eating them, Jimmy. Still eating them. So again, Jimbo, I got to tell you, I'm crushing on this.
So I learned today that Gregg was on double secret probation for his GPA after his freshman year and rallied back. And look, kids, stay in school or not, whatever you want to do. And look, you too could become the CEO and founder of a company that I'm telling you we're going to be reading about. And when Gregg goes public or sells it, we will be celebrating with Kings County. All right, Shatsy, I think we're either done. I think we're either done or maybe, just maybe,
there's one speed this up. He's got to go buy 4 brands, Jimmy, so he doesn't have a lot of time. But I got to tell you, It would not be a podcast about the branded quickfire. It's arguably the greatest segment of all time. This is according to the latest numbers that just came out. I'm getting it in my ear right now. Branded quickfire, highest rated segment on any podcast. Oh, that is breaking news right there. Gregg, I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. Don't think too hard. Don't think too long. Here we go. Are you ready, sir?
Yep.
Favorite thing to do in the summer?
Golf.
Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
So actually eating at Uchi's with a bunch of people down in Houston while I'm here for the TRA show.
Nice. What's your favorite food city in the world?
Chicago. Hands down. Best in the world.
Hands down. Where is your favorite place to travel?
So Disney, because I love the level of service and the way they install culture in the cast. So it's a learning experience and reminds me that if they can do it within that level, we can do it in our levels.
Love it. Okay, this is where things get a little little dicey. If you were a contestant on the former game show, Supermarket Sweep, sure you've seen it, taking a cart, running around, grabbing stuff on the aisles. And you had to go head-to-head with either Jimmy Rye for the final sweep. Who do you have better odds of beating in Supermarket Sweep? This guy, Shatsy the restaurant guy, who's very fast, or Jimbo, the finance guy, who...
First off, I don't need odds to beat either of you, but I'd have to say Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't think Jimmy's ever been to a supermarket.
I respect that. I think I would. The only reason I challenge that, I think Shatsy would lose interest. Like, he gets to the cereal section, he would see too many variety. He'd basically, I don't want to play. But I respect the answer. Certainly, when it comes to wiry and cagey, Shatsy would kick my butt. I think you'd have better odds of beating me too. Listen, Gregg, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Your second time. We appreciate you. We appreciate your team. We love what you're doing with Craveworthy, and we aspire and look forward to not just watching your growth, but being part and supporting your growth in every way we can. If you want to get in touch with Gregg directly, you can email the podcast team at podcast@brandedstrategic.com. We'd be happy to make the introduction. And to our listeners, as always, we want to thank you for tuning in. Our subscriber base, our downloads every month is just growing exponentially, which allows us to work with amazing companies, including Our Work, who's our current sponsor. And we so appreciate what they're doing, not just for the industry, but specifically for Branded and the Hospitality Hangout. So Our Work, we appreciate you. Please visit their website at ourwork.com. Shatsy, no jingle for Our Work?
Ourwork.com.
There you go. Well done. And so, no, I think you said it, Shatsy. But anyway, we do want to show our appreciation to them. So, Gregg, thank you, my friend. And this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, signing off and passing it back to my boy Shatsy to close us out.
And thanks, Jimbo. Shatsy, restaurant guy. Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to give a shout out. It's craveworthybrands.com. Craveworthybrands.com. Check it out and look in the news. He's buying 4 brands. We believe one will be an Indian brand. We're not sure, but stay tuned. Big things happening from Gregg and Craveworthy Brands. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.